I, 35-year-old female, invited my nephew, 18-year-old male, and his girlfriend, 21-year-old female, over for dinner tonight. I do this with my niece and nephew and their significant others every few months just because it's a good way to catch up on things. I like to cook, and they enjoy home-cooked meals without having to lift a finger or do dishes. Young people with full-time jobs, I get that they don't cook every night. My nephew has a new girlfriend, and I invited her along. Since she is an extremely picky eater, not because of mental health issues or eating disorders or anything, just extremely picky, I asked her beforehand what she liked to eat and catered a full meal to her liking with her food preferences. I spent the whole day doing groceries and cooking today, as it's my only day off from work. And like I said, I enjoy cooking, so I do not mind this at all. And I also invited my mother so she can see her grandson, and I always make way too much anyway. I had just finished everything in prep work that I could when my nephew calls, and I can tell he's sort of awkward in calling. I ask him what's up, and he very carefully asks me if it's okay that we just go out for pizza instead tonight. I explained to him that I'd rather not since I've been cooking all day and it'll just go to waste. He explains to me that his girlfriend only likes the foods she told me she liked when they come from fast food places, and she's worried she won't like it. So she'd rather either not come at all or go out for pizza, implied that I'm paying for all the pizza as well. I can tell he's sorry for the drama, but I inform him that I'm just not going to budge on this, and I won't be springing for pizza when I've been cooking all day. I tell him that she doesn't have to come then. I'll just see him and my mom. But she would prefer him staying home as well, if I won't cater to her needs. And since the car is in her name, I would have to go pick him up, which is half an hour back and forth for me at this point, and not ideal. At this point, I was annoyed and told her she was kind of being disrespectful and entitled. He said he agreed, but just couldn't deal with the drama of her right now. I told my mom this, and she said that it's financially no problem for me to spring for pizzas, and I could just portion out the food and put it in the freezer. She said it's about all of us being together, not about what we actually eat, and that I was being a jerk for not accommodating my guest. So, am I the jerk? Update. Wow, this blew up more than I thought it would. I ended up following the advice given here and texted my nephew that if he still wanted to come by himself, I'd spring for an Uber for him. He basically just texted me a bunch of hearts back, so he also loved the idea. I also ended up telling my mom the dinner was off, so I could have the alone time with him. As he is also my godson, we're very close. He said his girlfriend wasn't happy he was leaving her for the night, but apparently he had told her to stick it because he was over her drama. We had a great dinner together, just the two of us, and he talked a lot about his doubts in his relationship and is considering breaking up with her, not just over this, but many other things. It ended up being a really fun evening, just the two of us, and I sent him home with a big batch of Auntie's special brown butter brownies, just yummy special, not special. D before you all ask LOL, so thanks everybody for all the great advice. Small edit. Since people keep asking me, I got the brownie recipe off of TikTok about a year ago, and the creator's name is Broma Bakery. Enjoy, guys. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1, not the idiot. Your poor nephew sounds rightfully embarrassed over his entitled and rude girlfriend. Hopefully she either matures or he leaves. I like the other poster's suggestion to get an Uber for the nephew to come to dinner, if money isn't the issue for you. Comment 2, not the idiot. If I was your nephew, this would have been grounds to break up with her. The absolute entitlement, disrespect, and nonsense of this is insane. Personally, I'd never invite her to anything again. Now for the update. Hey everyone, it's been a week since my last update, and I wanted to fill you in on what's been happening. First off, thanks for all the support and advice you gave me last time. It really helped me navigate the situation with my nephew and his girlfriend. So, a few days after our dinner together, my nephew called me up and asked if we could meet for coffee. He sounded pretty serious, so I agreed to meet him at our favorite cafe. When I got there, he was already waiting for me with a troubled look on his face. As we sat down, he told me that he had broken up with his girlfriend. Apparently, after our dinner, he had a long talk with her about their relationship and realized that they just weren't compatible. He said that her picky eating habits were just the tip of the iceberg, and that there were a lot of other issues they couldn't see eye to eye on. I listened to him vent for a while and offered my support. I knew breakups were tough, especially at his age, but I was proud of him for standing up for himself and doing what he felt was right. As we talked, he mentioned that he was thinking about moving out of the apartment he shared with his now ex-girlfriend. He said he couldn't afford to live there on his own and was considering moving back in with his parents. That's when I had an idea. I had a spare room in my house that I had been using as a home office, but I realized that it could easily be converted into a bedroom. I offered to let my nephew move in with me for a while, just until he got back on his feet. He was hesitant at first, not wanting to impose, but I assured him that it was no trouble at all. In fact, I was excited at the prospect of having him around more often. Fast forward a few days and my nephew had moved in. It was a bit of an adjustment for both of us, but we quickly fell into a comfortable routine. I loved having someone to cook for again, and he seemed to appreciate having a home-cooked meal every night. We would often stay up late talking about everything from his future plans to my own experiences at his age. But as much as I enjoyed having him around, I couldn't help but notice that he seemed a bit lost. He had quit his job at the restaurant where he worked with his ex-girlfriend and was struggling to find something new. I knew he had always been interested in photography, so I suggested that he look into taking some classes at the local community college. He seemed excited by the idea, but hesitant about the cost. That's when I made a decision that could either make or break everything. I offered to pay for his classes. I knew it was a risk, but I also knew that my nephew had a lot of potential, and I wanted to help him realize it. He was shocked by my offer and tried to refuse, but I insisted. I told him that I believed in him and that I wanted to invest in his future. To my surprise, he accepted my offer and enrolled in a photography course. He threw himself into his studies, and I could see a new spark in his eyes. He would often show me the photos he had taken, and I was blown away by his talent. I knew that I had made the right decision in supporting him. As the weeks went by, my nephew's confidence grew, and he started to come out of his shell. He even started dating again, although he was taking things slow this time around. I was happy to see him thriving, and I knew that our bond had only grown stronger through this experience. Looking back, I realized that my nephew's breakup was a blessing in disguise. It had brought us closer together and given me the opportunity to support him in a way that I never had before. I knew that there would be more challenges ahead, but I was confident that we could face them together. Thanks for reading and for all your support. It means the world to me. Am I the idiot for refusing to let my daughter do her friend's schoolwork, even after being accused of not caring? I, 42-year-old female, have a daughter, Mia, 17-year-old female, who attends online school, and her best friend is Emily, 17-year-old female who she met in the 6th grade. Last year, Mia started slipping with her grades a lot. She did have trouble in school before, but it was usually just math and science-based subjects that she struggled with, and reached out for help when she needed it. This was due to a mental health crisis since our house had burned down, and a lot of valuable things were lost. Also, there were varying health scares and surgeries with close family members. I put Mia into counseling and I worked out a deal with her school, where in short, she'd only have to keep her grades passing or above passing in order to graduate. Mia improved a lot after that, and she has been keeping her grades above passing ever since then. Her graduation is next month. Susan, 45-year-old female. Emily's mom had gotten the same deal, but Emily hasn't bothered trying to keep it up. Emily also has struggled in school, but from what Susan and my daughter say, she doesn't try to actually improve. Mia herself has tried to help Emily in the subjects she does well in, English and history, in the past. And it did work for a little bit, but then her grades dropped again. I was on the phone with Susan earlier, and she was venting to me about how if Emily didn't complete her overdue work and get her grades up in the next 2 weeks, May 17th is their last day to turn in schoolwork, except for credit classes, she wouldn't graduate and would have to repeat senior year. She then asked me if Mia could take on the responsibility of getting the majority of Emily's work done, so that Emily can have passing grades and graduate. I was really shocked that she would ask that and asked if she was joking. Susan confirmed she was, in fact, not joking around, and said it would be really nice of my daughter to help out her best friend like that. I gave her a hard no. Not only was that super against the school's policies and could get them both kicked out before graduation, but Emily has an insane amount of overdue work and Mia has her own work to focus on that would really hurt her grades if ignored in favor of Emily's. Susan tried to argue with and plead her case to me, but I hung up on her without thinking. Later on, Susan sent me multiple screenshots of Emily's overdue homework, 28 in total, and said that Mia would only have to do half of that. I told this to my husband, thinking he'd agree with me that it's an insane request, but to my surprise, he said that I should consider it since Mia is doing way better in school than she was before, and Emily has been her best friend for 7 years. He also said that it would probably make both girls feel horrible if one graduated while the other got left behind. I don't think I'm an AH, but Susan and my husband seem to think otherwise. I would greatly appreciate outsider perspective. Edit. The deal is that they get their half of the credits waived if they keep their grades at or above passing in their regular courses and credit recovery courses, along with extracurricular work. Also, their GPA gets a bump. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. LOL, I think I'm reading too many Reddit posts. My first thought was, is Mia's dad sleeping with Emily's mom? LOL. If this is a true story, OP is not the jerk, but her husband and Emily's mom are grade A jerks. Tell your husband and Susan that if either of them approaches Mia about doing Emily's schoolwork, you'll send the screenshots of Susan asking Mia to do Emily's work to the school principal. Why didn't Emily do her own work? Comment 2. Said that Mia would only have to do half of that. Mia doesn't have to do any of it, not one bit. She knuckled down and did her part for her own graduation after a traumatic event. Not the jerk. Do not let Mia take any of Emily's work on and jeopardize her own graduation. Maybe Emily will learn a thing or two about the consequences of her actions from this. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for reading my last post and for all the support and advice you gave me. It really means a lot, so a lot has happened in the last 2 weeks since I wrote that post. I ended up having a long talk with Mia about the whole situation with Emily and her mom's request. Mia was really upset that Susan would even ask something like that of her. She said she loves Emily like a sister, but that she couldn't risk her own future and graduation by doing half of Emily's overdue work. I was proud of Mia for standing her ground, but things got complicated when Emily showed up at our house a few days later, crying and begging Mia to help her. Apparently, Susan had told Emily that I was the one who refused to let Mia help, and Emily was furious with me. She accused me of not caring about her and said I was a terrible mother for not letting Mia be a good friend. Mia tried to calm Emily down and explain that it was her decision too, not just mine, but Emily wouldn't listen. She stormed out of our house saying she never wanted to see either of us again. Mia was devastated. She and Emily have been inseparable since 6th grade, and the thought of losing her best friend right before graduation was heartbreaking. Over the next week, Mia tried reaching out to Emily multiple times, but Emily ignored all her calls and texts. Mia was a mess, crying herself to sleep every night. I felt so helpless seeing my daughter in so much pain. Then, a few days ago, we got a call from the school. Apparently, Emily had turned in a bunch of assignments that were clearly not her own work. The writing style and quality were completely different from her usual work, and some of the assignments had Mia's name on them. The school accused Mia of doing Emily's work for her, which is a serious violation of academic integrity policies. I was shocked. I knew Mia would never do something like that, but the evidence seemed damning. We had a meeting with the school administration, and Mia swore up and down that she didn't do Emily's work. The school said they would investigate further, but that if Mia was found guilty, she could face serious consequences, including not being allowed to graduate. I was furious with Susan and Emily. How could they do this to my daughter? After everything Mia had been through with the house fire and family health scares, she had worked so hard to get her grades up and earn her diploma. And now, because of Emily's selfishness and Susan's entitlement, it could all be taken away from her. The investigation is still ongoing, and we're waiting to hear the final verdict from the school. Mia is a wreck, terrified that she might not get to graduate with her class. She feels betrayed by Emily and can't believe their friendship has come to this. Looking back, I can't help but wonder if there were signs that Emily was capable of something like this. She had always struggled in school and relied on Mia for help, but I never imagined she would go this far. And Susan. I thought she was my friend, but clearly she cares more about her own daughter's success than anyone else's. I don't know what's going to happen next. All I can do is be there for Mia and hope that the truth comes out and she's cleared of any wrongdoing. But even if she is, the damage to her friendship with Emily may be irreparable. It's a harsh reminder that even the people closest to us can let us down in the most painful ways. Anyway, thanks for letting me vent and for all your support. It really does help to know there are people out there who understand and care. I'll keep you all updated on what happens next. Am I the idiot for refusing to be grandparents to my ex-daughter-in-law's other kids after she tried to cut us out? My son, Tommy, died suddenly 6 years ago. He was recently divorced with 2 kids with his ex-wife. The kids were 5 and 6 years old at the time of their dad's death. The kids and Tommy lived with us for a year at one point. Tommy's ex, Marla, was serving time after she stole from Tommy, from a friend of Tommy's, and from my husband and myself. It delayed the divorce, so they had been separated for more than 2 years, and the separation started when Tommy learned Marla had cheated. We found out about the stealing after, and she stole from us after the separation. All in all, Marla stole close to $35,000 between us all. Marla had recently been released and started back with 50/50 custody of the kids when Tommy died. After Tommy died, Marla attempted to cut our family out of the lives of my grandchildren. My husband and I went to court and were awarded very generous grandparents' visitation under grandparents' rights of our state. Marla was furious. She tried to appeal, but it was rejected twice. The relationship between us was not civil, so we kept it simple and only communicated times for pickup. Dates were already specified. Marla remarried and now has additional children. Marla has asked a few times for us to include her other children. We ignore the requests. She has yelled at us when we pick up our grandchildren and does not care if they hear. We stay silent generally. My husband and I have no wish to be a part of her other children's lives or to play any sort of role in her and her current husband's life. We have a relationship with our grandkids. They're close to us as we are them, and they never ask to include their half-siblings. So we keep things as they are. Last week, my grandson had a school talent show that they wanted us to attend, so we did. Marla and her husband were there with their kids, but we sat apart. When the kids finished and went back to their classrooms, and as we were leaving, Marla approached and asked us to please think of her other kids and start acting like grandparents to them. We stayed civil and refused. Marla called us monsters. She said we were hideous monsters for turning our backs on her and her other kids just because she moved on after Tommy. She accused us of cruelty to children. She was very loud. I lost my temper and told her if she had wanted us in her life, she wouldn't have cheated on our son and stolen from him, his friend, and us, and ended up going to prison. I told her we owed her nothing, and we owed her children nothing, and she needed to accept that our grandkids would always be our grandkids, but she was no longer part of our family. Marla reacted to others hearing this and told me I had no right to air her dirty laundry publicly, that I should have kept that out of our mutual dispute. Am I the idiot? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1, not the idiot. She verbally attacked you in public and got mad that you gave it right back. Nothing you said was a lie. She's living the consequences of her own decisions. She sounds completely unhinged and toxic, trying to keep you away from your grandchildren, then attacking you for not including in your life children that are not related to you. I feel sorry for her kids, growing up with a mother like that. Comment 2, not the idiot. 1, she cheated on your son. 2, she stole from him, you, and friends. 3, she forced you to go to court for visitation rights to your grandchildren. She then protracted that process while you were grieving. 4, she started in on you in public. You get a totally free pass for reacting in the moment. This woman is an egregious AH. Sorry about your son. Now, for the update, thank you for all the comments on my last post. It's been a week since the incident at the talent show, and a lot has happened since then. A few days after the confrontation with Marla, I received a call from my grandson's school. The principal informed me that Marla had filed a complaint against me, claiming that I had verbally harassed her and caused a scene at the school event. I was shocked and upset by this accusation, as I had only responded to Marla's own aggressive behavior. I explained my side of the story to the principal, but I couldn't shake the feeling that Marla was trying to paint me as the villain in this situation. Later that week, my granddaughter came to stay with us for the weekend. She seemed quieter than usual, and I could tell that something was bothering her. After some gentle prodding, she confided in me that Marla had been saying nasty things about us to her and her brother. Marla had apparently been telling them that we didn't love them as much as we should, because we refused to accept her other children as our grandchildren. My heart broke hearing this, and I reassured my granddaughter that our love for her and her brother was unconditional and had nothing to do with Marla or her other kids. This revelation made me realize that Marla's behavior at the talent show wasn't just a one-off incident. She had been actively trying to turn our grandchildren against us, and I knew I couldn't let that continue. I decided to reach out to Marla and try to have a civil conversation about the situation. When I called Marla, she was initially hostile and defensive. She accused me of trying to control her life and reiterated her belief that we were being cruel to her other children. I listened patiently, and then calmly explained my perspective. I reminded her of the pain she had caused our family with her past actions, and emphasized that our relationship with our grandchildren was separate from our relationship, or lack thereof, with her. I also made it clear that we would not tolerate her attempts to manipulate our grandchildren's feelings towards us. To my surprise, Marla seemed to listen. She admitted that she had been struggling with feelings of resentment and jealousy towards our relationship with the kids, especially since her own parents had passed away years ago. She apologized for her behavior at the talent show and promised to stop bad-mouthing us to the children. I was relieved by this outcome, but I knew that rebuilding trust with Marla would take time. We agreed to keep our interactions focused on the children and to communicate more openly about any issues that arose. Looking back, I realized that my own grief over losing Tommy had made it difficult for me to empathize with Marla's situation. While I still believe that we have no obligation to be grandparents to her other children, I can understand how our close relationship with our grandkids might be painful for her at times. Moving forward, I hope that Marla and I can find a way to coexist peacefully for the sake of our grandchildren. They deserve to have loving relationships with all the important people in their lives, and I'm committed to doing my part to make that happen. Thank you for reading and for all your support. If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.